Okay, so get that we're talking about a story, a real story that sounds like it's straight out of Hollywood.
It's one of those, you couldn't write it if you tried kind of thing.
Exactly. And it all revolves around family, adoption, and some really, really incredible coincidences. Cassandra, Julia, and Thomas are, well, you'll hear about it, but trust me, their story is going to make you think twice about, well, a lot of things.
What really gets me about this whole thing is how it highlights, like how DNA testing, it's not just for ancestry anymore. It's like this whole other level of family drama and discovery, rewriting history and all.
Right. It's wild. So, okay, let's start with Cassandra and Thomas. Imagine, just picture this, growing up, like, basically down the street from your sibling, but you have no clue. That's what happened with these two in Connecticut. Both adopted, both from the Dominican Republic.
And get this, there were whispers from the adoption agency way back when, hinting that they might be related, siblings even, but nothing concrete, no proof.
Oh, I bet. Can you imagine living with that? Like that little possibility in the back of your mind your whole life?
Heavy stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay, but then, fast forward a bit, Cassandra's working at a restaurant, totally normal, right? And boom, she meets Julia. Now, these two, they look so alike. People are like, are you twins? They even joke about it themselves. But their adoption papers, totally different stories, or so they thought. It's like fate was messing with them, you know what I mean?
No, seriously. Okay, wait. So you have Cassandra and Thomas. Their lives are like intertwined already without them knowing. And then Julia just walks in like it's meant to be. This is already blowing my mind and we're just getting started.
Right. It really makes you wonder, how many times do we walk right past someone who could be family and we never know? Like, what if there are signs, but we just miss them?
Makes you think, for sure. Okay, so we've got Cassandra and Thomas, connected but clueless, right? And then there's Julia, just living her life until, well, destiny steps in. So how do we go from look-alike jokes to a real-deal family reunion? Buckle up, because it gets even crazier. Cassandra, she really wanted to find her roots, So in 2019, she takes this huge leap and travels to the Dominican Republic, and she finds her biological father.
Big moment, right? Except it's not all happy reunions and warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
When she brings up the idea that, hey, maybe there's a son out there, her father flat out denies it. Can you imagine?
But what do you even do with that, right? So talk about a curveball. Suddenly, there's this whole other layer of mystery. What else happened? What don't we know?
Like those family secrets, They have a way of staying buried, even when you think you're getting the whole picture.
Totally. Okay, but before we get too caught up in that, let's go back to Cassandra and Thomas. Remember those whispers from the adoption agency? Well, those little whispers, they become huge E. It's almost like, when you're reading a mystery and you think you're getting close to the answer, but then bam! Something comes out of left field.
And it changes everything.
Right, like all those little details, all those almost connections, they suddenly mean something totally different.
Totally. And in this case, those little whispers, those hints from the adoption agency, they were just the beginning.
Okay, so picture this. It's 2021, 3 years after Cassandra's trip to see her biological father. And get this, he drops a bomb. He tells her, yeah, there's another kid, a daughter, who was also placed for adoption.
Talk about a game changer, right? Suddenly, all those what-ifs become real possibilities.
And remember Julia, Cassandra's look-alike from the restaurant, the one they joked about being twins?
Oh, yeah, her.
Well, Cassandra, she puts 2 and 2 together, and she tells Julia, look, we need to do a DNA test, seriously. And you already know what's coming, right?
They're sisters.
Yeah.
For real, half-sisters. It's crazy.
Crazy doesn't even cover it. Think about it. They go from 0 to 100, overnight. Suddenly, they have a father, they have each other, and they find out they have 7 other siblings, all living in the Dominican Republic.
It's like winning the family lottery, but in the best way possible. It really makes you think about, those connections, those bonds. They run deeper than we think,
Absolutely. But here's the thing. While all this is happening, there's someone missing from the picture. Remember Thomas? Cassandra's childhood almost sibling? Well, Cassandra, she made a choice. She decided to keep him in the dark, at least for a little while.
Can you blame her? I mean,
yeah.
Talk about a lot of the process. Right. And then to drop that on someone, potentially hey, we might be siblings.
Whoa. Seriously. But, spoiler alert, some secrets are too big to stay hidden forever. And this is where Cassandra's husband, Aaron, he comes in, he sees what's going on, how much this is weighing on her, and he basically says, you gotta tell him. You just gotta.
Sometimes you just need that little push, that voice of reason, even when it's scary.
Right. So put yourself in Thomas's shoes. One day, you get this message totally out of the blue from this woman who, for all you know, is a stranger. And she's talking about family, about a possible connection, about DNA. I can't even imagine. Talk about a life-changing phone call, right?
Absolutely. And, to his credit, Thomas, he doesn't shy away from it. He's like, okay, let's do this. He's all in.
He's braver than I am, that's for sure. So they do the test and, well, you probably guessed it.
Full siblings.
Yeah.
Confirmed. It's like, what are the chances, right?
Seriously. It's like those whispers from the adoption agency, they were right all along. But now it gets even more complicated. Because remember, their biological mother, she had already passed away by this point. And their father, he had no idea about Thomas. None at all.
So many questions, right? Like, how does this even happen?
Right. But the only clue, the only thing they have to go on is that apparently their parents, they were separated for a while. So they think maybe their mother, she placed Thomas for adoption separately, maybe even used a different last name to keep it quiet.
It's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
Like, what led to that? What was she going through?
Makes you think about all the stories that never get told, all the secrets that families keep. But even with all the unanswered questions, this story, it has a happy ending. Well, sort of. Because, get this, Cassandra and Julia, they're planning a trip to meet Thomas and his newborn son.
Oh, wow. Can you imagine that first meeting? All those years wondering, and then finally, family.
It gives me chills. And there's even talk of a family reunion, like everyone in the Dominican Republic. Thomas wants to meet his father, his other siblings, everyone.
It really makes you think about family, doesn't it? Like, it's not always about blood, It's about those connections, those bonds that we make.
Absolutely. And that's what this whole deep dive has been about, right? Cassandra, Julia, Thomas, they show us that sometimes life, it takes some pretty unexpected turns. But no matter what, those family ties, they have a way of pulling us back together even when we least expect it. So yeah, remember their story, because it might just give you hope, the hope that maybe, just maybe, there's still some magic left out there in the world.
I like that. A little hope goes a long way.